or we'll get to most of the other stuff. So,
all right, we're now joined by Rich Sermonello. He's with the Maxwell Award. They will present eventually. Dave Aranda with the Maxwell Award, a Coach of the Year. He's up for many of them this year, and Rich joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And the reason I reached out to Rich, because he had a tweet earlier today. There are a handful of guys you'd want your kid to play for, coaches in college football. Baylor's Dave Aranda is one of them, so impressive in so many different ways. Rich, thanks for your time and your thoughts about him, and again, being honored by your award, the Maxwell Award as Coach of the Year.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. And, I couldn't share this during the process. I am only one vote when it comes to our National Coach of the Year, Maxwell Award, Bednarik Award, NFL players and such. But I was privately rooting for Dave Aranda, and he did get my vote personally for Coach of the Year for reasons that transcend just football. And obviously the turnaround we're all aware of, did a remarkable job, 2-7 last year, 12 wins this year, Big 12 championship. But I just adore, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, I adore coaches who do it right. There's an authenticity. He's someone who really cares about his players. I think kids who spend time around Dave Aranda, going back to his days as defensive coordinator, they're not just better football players, they're better young men, and that's something we're always trying to champion.
Rich, if you were going to put college football coach into Amazon.com to get like a basic college football coach out of a box, he certainly doesn't fit that mold, does he?
No, actually, I'm writing a story about Dave for our dinner bio, March 18th in Atlantic City, and that's exactly the theme I'm taking. There's very little about Dave Aranda that fits central casting. He's not a blueprint coach, and there's no one way. There's no one path. Dave chooses a path that obviously you guys know better than I do. More cerebral, much more of a thinker, not a fist pumper. It kind of strikes me almost as professorial in his approach. And that's okay. I think it's very refreshing that there is a Dave Aranda for those kinds of kids that will gravitate to that kind of program. And, he may not be for everyone. The brand may not be for everyone, but there are going to be a lot of kids moving forward who love Dave Aranda, want to play for Dave Aranda. I saw a quote, maybe you guys had seen it, not exactly sure when it was, from Terrell Bernard. He referred to Dave Aranda as a servant leader. Mm-hmm. What a wonderful thing to say about a coach. And I think that's going to resonate in a lot of living rooms in the years to come.
Yeah, he is absolutely, I'm not saying he's unique. Unique means that different. Now, I guess he is, but sometimes we say that because we're just really learning about him. This is who he's been for a long, long time. But who covered Baylor, when he first got here, one of the things we had to deal with, Rich, we couldn't really see him because everything was Zoom and on. And then we got a chance to start being around him, sit down with him, watch him, see at media sessions, whatever. It's almost like we're the ones learning, not him.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point, too, because, I've been covering college football for a long period of time, even preceding my time with the Maxwell Football Club. We were obviously following Dave as far back as the Hawaii days and, his time at Utah State and Wisconsin, and obviously more recently at LSU. And the one thing that always comes to mind is you thought of Dave Aranda, defensive genius, right? That was the thing that came to mind. And his defenses year after year were terrific. Always improved the product wherever he was. But, we really, and I'm at fault too, I never took the time to really dig deeper and find out what makes Dave Aranda tick. And that's one of the cool things about the fact that now he's on a bigger stage. He's a head coach playing for a nationally recognized program, Power 5 championship program. Now we're getting to learn more about Dave Aranda. And again, I think the more people that get to know this man, the better off they'll be. I have not met him in person. I will again in March, both he and his wife, and I really can't wait to do so.
Well, Rich, part of the reason I think you couldn't dig deeper is he wasn't trying to let people. I mean, he's as private a person as you can imagine, and was more just about the work.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's not something we're accustomed to in coaching or even society these days. I'm not pointing fingers. It's not a fault. It is who we are at this point. But in the age of social media, where everyone has a platform, everyone has a voice, they want to use that voice every minute of every day. Yeah, Dave Aranda is the antithesis of that. And again, it's one of the things I like. It still works. It doesn't, one size doesn't fit all. You don't have to take one pathway to championships. I just love the fact that Dave Aranda can do it his way, that Mack Rhoades was on board with it and said, I'm gonna take a shot with a guy who had never been a head coach before. Tough replacement, in my opinion. I'm a big Matt Rule fan. I thought that was a big loss for the program at the time, but the transition from Matt to Dave at this point couldn't have gone much better.
Rich, y'all had a great group of finalists as well. I mean, in addition to Coach Aranda, you had Jeff Traylor from down the road at UTSA, Jim Harbaugh, Luke Fickell, and Mel Tucker as well. I mean, just in general, what a great group of coaches, and I'm sure a tough choice for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really was. One of the things I like that we do, guys, is we are so national in our scope with players and coaches and coaches this year too. I really like the fact that we had that group of 5 representation, obviously worthy with what Jeff Traylor did at UTSA, Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, taking the Bearcats to the playoffs. We did have the bigger programs. Jim Harbaugh, quite frankly, caught me by surprise this year. I didn't see that. I thought we were going to see mediocrity in Ann Arbor for as long as he stayed at his alma mater. That did not happen this year. Mel Tucker, great job using the transfer portal, bringing in the Kenny Walkers and players like that to resuscitate Michigan State. But again, out of the group, great group of guys, I still think Dave stands above those. And for me personally, I love the coach awards. We have regional coach of the years, NFL coach of the year. So for me, it's a lot of fun to do that as well.
So the banquet you mentioned, is it in March? Is that what you said, Rich?
Yeah, March 17th and 18th. We'll depart on the Saturday, the 19th. We'll have in all of our NFL player of the year, NFL coach of the year, Maxwell Award, Bryce Young, Bednarik, Jordan Davis from Georgia. Obviously, Dave is our national coach of the year. Pat Narduzzi, who I spoke to last night, our regional coach of the year.
That's awesome. Again, Rich Sermonello is with us. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. I know you're going to get that interview, and I'm telling you right now, ask him about Berenstain Bears or the Velveteen Rabbit, because that's another thing. That's another thing that makes him so unique, that he popped that out there a couple of times in interviews and or media sessions. Yeah.
I actually saw that with Joel Klatt. You're referring to the interview, and again, like I'm sort of different. I kind of like the eclectic individuals, period, whether it's coaches or not. And I think the fact that he can weave the Velveteen Rabbit into a football interview with Joel Klatt, I think is awesome. I love that breadth of knowledge. He did it so seamlessly, and you could see on, Joel Klatt's face, he was kind of like, where did that come from? Yeah. But I love that. He's well-rounded. And again, for me, more than anything else, he develops great football players. But I think when you're around a cerebral, caring, well-rounded man of faith like Dave Aranda, I think the players that play for him, I think are better off because of it. I think the assistants are better off because of it. And that's why I'm a big fan of Dave Aranda.
Rich, thank you very much. You'll enjoy it, no question about it. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the banquet, the dinner honoring Dave Aranda, and much more. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
That's Rich Sermonello. The Maxwell Award, Dave Aranda was up for many of those awards. The George Munger Award is this one, and he is named the Coach of the Year as well.
Well, if he wasn't going to get one of these Coach of the Year awards, that was going to be some BS. I mean, honestly, with the year that they had, he was up for a bunch of them, like you said, but it was going to Mike Gundy or it was going to, whoever else. Fickell. And those guys, I mean, Fickell in particular is obviously very deserving of some of these, but I think it would have been a shame if he wasn't honored in some way for the job that he did. And I know that Mack Rhoades, teased yesterday some more, that we should be hearing some contract news soon. So looking forward to when that finally drops, just to kind of be done with it for one, but also just to, have that official. But yeah, he's unique. He's different in the best type of ways. And if you're Baylor, you just hope he's around for a long time and continues to build, because really, if you think about it, he's just gotten started. Like he's only been a coach for 2 years. Mm-hmm. He's been a head coach for 2 years, and in his second year. Now, look, I do think that that first year was a little bit of a funhouse mirror. They were not as bad as a 2-win team. I mean, they really, talent-wise, they were not a 2-win team. Coaching-wise, they shouldn't have been a 2-win team either. COVID wreaked havoc. They got hit harder than just about anybody in the entire league as far as interruptions and not being able to practice and not even be able to play games and all of that. But, once he was able to sink his teeth into it and actually, see guys eye to eye and have some, real, actual offseason, you saw the job that he did. So imagine the job that he can do 2 years of that, 3 years of that. It's going to be fun to see. And I know that, there should be reasons for not believing next year could be quite as magical run. You lose Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie and a ton of other guys on defense. But then again, they don't seem to feel that way at all. Like they feel like, hey, next year can even be better. And I'm looking forward to watching that journey and seeing if that's something that does happen.
Yeah, here's some comments on the chat room, by the way, from Gary Lewis, Paul, and Craig on the hospitals. You don't want to see what actually happens in regular hospitals in mainland China. You don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And now, also a couple on the night. Gary said from Lewis on the chat room about Sermonello is really good. Look good at picking NFL games week to week. I did not know that. I would have brought that up. But servant leadership is a powerful testimony.
Yeah, that
you
really
don't see that very often.
That really, I don't think I've ever seen somebody. I've probably been around Waco long enough now. I've probably heard some speech, from somebody where they use that term in some way. Especially with a Baptist or Christian school. I'm sure they've used servant leader in something that I've heard, but I've definitely never heard that said about a college football head coach. That was new to me, and I just think that says a lot right there. Just that way of describing him, and it's accurate, and the players will say as much, and that's obviously where that came from initially, was from Terrell Bernard saying just that. So yeah, it's a powerful thing for your players to say about you.
A lot of amazing names, obviously. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, a couple of the more recent, Jeff Monken, Orgeron a couple of years ago. He's no longer at LSU. Jamie Chadwell, who we had on the show back during the football season, Coastal Carolina. What's interesting, if you go back the last 10 or 12 years, from 2010 I'll go back to 2006. Greg Schiano, Rutgers, gone. Mark Mangino, gone. Mike Leach, gone. Patterson, gone. Beamer, retired. Hoke, gone. Bill O'Brien, gone. Cutcliffe just retired. Mullen, gone. Sweeney, still there. Saban, still there. Smart, still there. Monken, still there. Orgeron, gone. Chadwell, still there. And Dave Aranda, you hope, if you're a Baylor fan, for quite some time. And Armstrong, you put up that they call them, the SEC has the SEC shorts